Good evening, everyone. I think we were having a technical issue. I think you all can hear me. Great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of our panelists to come into and from the backstage. I think that's the issue that we had. So give me 1 second.
Okay, are we good to go now? Okay, are we good? Was I talking the whole time and nobody can hear me? All right. Well, that's okay. So everybody can hear now. I see some people that I know in the chat. So we're good to go. Good evening, everyone. Apologies for that with the audio. I'm Katora Butler Reed, the National Training and Campaign Manager for the Youth and College Division of the NAACP. And it's an honor to greet you today on behalf of the association as we open this important space for labor and economic justice. We gather at a critical moment for workers across the country, especially young workers and Black women. The Black unemployment rate is at 7.2%, the highest it's been in nearly 5 years. For comparison, the overall US rate is just 4.2%. And for Black women, the numbers are even more sobering. Between February and July this year, over 300,000 Black women lost their jobs. Black women became the only major group losing ground, despite being the most educated demographic in the nation. We are paying more, learning more, and still left with less. We see this not only in the workforce, but in leadership. Dr. Lisa Cook, the first Black woman confirmed to the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, is overqualified. She's brilliant, yet still faced pushback rooted in bias rather than merit. Her story is just one example of how deeply systemic these barriers remain. At the same time, federal cutbacks and attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are hitting women and people of color the hardest. Departments like education and HUD, where women and Black workers make up the majority, but they're still being targeted the most. These are jobs that have historically provided stability and a path to the middle class. When those jobs are cut, entire communities lose. For young people, the stakes are just as high. Our youth and college members are navigating underemployment. They're navigating rising college costs and cuts to Pell Grants and student loan forgiveness plans. College affordability isn't just an education issue, it's a workforce issue. Just yesterday, we had a call with students in DC, and we discussed the threat of the National Guard and how those policies are going to be showing up on their campuses, if not already, right? And they also shed light on what it feels like to have their own identity under attack. For many years, of course, NAACP student leaders fought to push systems beyond campus to be more just and equitable. But today's students are facing a different kind of struggle, fighting simply for their organizations and spaces to exist on campus. At PWIs, especially your cultural houses, your Black student unions, and your NAACP chapters are being told to strip words like Black, minority, or African Americans from their names, from their missions, from their constitutions, as if our identity itself can be erased. And yet, these students continue to stand firm in our missions and values. I couldn't be more proud of them being so courageous in this fight, carrying forward the legacy of those who fought before them, many of you all on this call today. This is the context for why today's conversation matters. In his book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, Dr. King highlights the importance of community and the fierce urgency of now. More than 50 years later, the plight of the Black working class is still struggling. And I would argue that much of the chaos that we see today is designed as a distraction, a distraction from the real work of organizing, a distraction from the power that we continue to build, a distraction of what we are doing to fight and organize and demand dignity for all workers. That's why this conversation must be intergenerational. Labor organizing has always been sacred and strategic. It carried forward by those willing to take risks for the advancement and liberation of our people. Today, young people are not just the future of the movement. We are living it. We are building it, and we are carrying it forward today. So when we link arms across generations, that is where our true power lies. The influence and power of labor organizers is what can change this nation. So I thank you all for being here. I thank you all for continuing to stand in this fight and for choosing the community over chaos and the fierce urgency of now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katora, for sharing your voice and uplifting the voice of the youth. The need to come at this with an intergenerational strategy. At this time, we'd like to now welcome NAACP's very own President and CEO, Derek Johnson. President Johnson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anissa. Thank you, Katora, for a well-done presentation, and you were spot on. We are in a unique scenario in this current political climate across the country. Not only are the rights of workers are at stake, the very democracy that we have all grown accustomed to is at stake. And in this political warfare that we see, the paramount right that we must protect is the right to vote. The ability of the elected of individuals to choose individuals to represent their needs and interests. The ability to ensure that elected officials are not choosing their voters, but voters are choosing their elected officials. So in this moment, one of the most important things workers can do to protect their right is to be engaged and advocate around the redistricting fight as we see it across the country. In Texas, we filed a lawsuit because of the mid-cycle redistricting process. The goal there was to create 5 additional seats because of fear that they would lose the House in 2026. We are witnessing a ballot initiative in California right now to counter what is taking place in Texas. And so if you have family, friends, or you in the state of California, it's going to be absolutely crucial that you support the initiative to turn the authority back over to the California Assembly and governor to redraw the political boundary lines so voters can choose their elected officials and not the other way around. In Missouri, we just filed this week a lawsuit because that governor would like to redraw the political boundary lines in Missouri. We believe he has called a special session in violation of the state's constitution, therefore it's unconstitutional. And we're going to continue to take on these fights across the country. Why? Because the election could have consequences, and we don't want the outcome of the 2026 election to reflect an outcome that does not carry forth the interests of our communities, the interests of working people. And so that's why we organized this call this evening. The chair of our National Labor Committee, Robert Williams, was insisting that NAACP partner with our internationals to begin to carry forth the message. The fierce urgency of now is for all of us to get out of our boxes and recognize that our individual pieces of work that's a priority are lines up under one reality. In a democracy, our vote is our currency. And our currency is only as strong as we cast it with one united voice. But that only can be done effectively if the political boundaries are drawn so we can elect candidates of our choice. And so in this fight, I support the right of workers. We have to fight as much as we can to prevent Black females from being pushed out of their jobs. Over 319,000 to date, from January 20th to date. That is a sea change in terms of the expectation of workers and families across the community, especially in the Black community. We have to fight to ensure that our children have access to education. We have to fight to ensure that the hospitals, because of greedy individuals seeking tax cuts, are open and we can provide for individuals who are in need. But all of those fights, quite honestly, are secondary to our right to vote and our ability to elect candidates of our choice. That's why the most important thing for all of us is this fight around redistricting and then immediately pivot to the 2026 midterm elections. Thank you, Robin, Anissa, and Jamal for organizing this. Let's continue to fight because the urgency of our fight is now. Peace and power.
Thank you, President Johnson, for connecting the dots on why the redistricting fight is so intertwined with labor rights and civil rights. At this time, I would like to now invite Jamal Watkins, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Advancement, to our virtual stage as he moderates our lightning talks. Jamal.
Thank you, Anissa. Good evening, everyone. I know that when we gather in these type of spaces, it is dark times and dark days in parts of the country for our communities, but there's always a light that is shining in the darkness. And so today, we're going to lift up a few of those lights to really give us what is our guidepost, what is our North Star, what should we be focusing in on. And so we're going to hear from some amazing, and I'm going to say that again, amazing women who understand what it means to be not only working people, but also leaders in the movement. And so the first voice we're going to hear from is none other than Chief of Staff of the AFL-CIO. Her name is Julie Collier. Now, I will say this because it's personal. She is an amazing mother, amazing wife, a friend to the movement, a friend to all of us. And I would argue one of the formidable leaders in the labor movement and has been doing so for almost 2 decades. And if you haven't seen or heard from her tonight, you will. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to Leader Collier to really start us off with what is the fight forward for working people?
Jamal, thank you so much. I want to start by saying thank you to the NAACP, President Johnson, Robin. We have been walking hand in hand for many, many years in partnership and in alignment in this fight. And I couldn't think of a time more critical than now for us to be taking that walk together. So I appreciate and applaud you for having this call during Labor Day week, as we are referring to it, and really lifting up these important challenges. Thank you, Jamal, for pointing out my titles. I'm coming to you tonight as a worker. I'm coming to you tonight as a mom of a 2.5 and a 3-year-old who you might hear in the background, who has to pay her daycare bill tomorrow, who will go grocery shopping this weekend and is tracking these rising costs. And I am feeling it just like everyone else. And there is no more important time for me personally to be doing what I do professionally in the labor movement than now, for all those reasons. This is the fight of our lives that we are all in right now in this administration. I think we all knew or had an inkling that things would be bad, but we had no idea just how bad they could get, how bad they would be. And we are finding out every day. I am a proud representative of the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrialized Organizations. That is what AFL-CIO stands for. We represent 63 unions and 15 million workers across this country. And I'm proud to say that we are standing very strong in solidarity in this fight. Labor Day this has been a Labor Day unlike any other that we have experienced in our movement because of the times that we are in. We have mobilized. We had over 500,000 workers out on the streets and parades, at picnics, raising their voices on Monday, and that continues all this week, lifting up the important message and really just educating on what this administration is doing and has done. I think sometimes the day-to-day stresses of life, because you are living it, it's hard to just pause and take it all in and to connect the dots. And in the labor movement, I just want to ensure all of you that is what we are doing. It is by design to make us feel powerless. It is by design for these things to be seen as distractions. This administration started off with attacks on DEI, with attacks on immigrants. We're now attacking arts and institutions and the very ability for us to be able to raise our voices and be able to vote. This administration launched the largest attack on collective bargaining against federal workers that has ever been felt or seen in this nation in the history of the labor movement. Almost 1 million workers with the stroke of a pen lost their collective bargaining rights, while at the same time, the federal workforce is just attempting to be decimated. And as has been lifted up many times, who is that affecting the most? It is affecting Black women. But it's not just the 300,019 jobs that have been lost by, Black people in particular. While that is happening, guess what? There has been a 365% increase in white men getting jobs. Okay, so again, it's connecting the dots and seeing where all this is aligned and happening together. In the labor movement, we remain resolute. We know we are under attack, but we also know that workers have been betrayed. And our job in this fight, along with the NAACP and everyone else, is to fight back against that. And that is what we are doing and showing up to do on the streets and communities every day. But we also need to make sure that people know their rights while they're doing it. And doing training on just, how to mobilize, making sure that we're doing it safely, making sure that when people are in the streets, they know what to do. I work in Washington, D.C. Many of us live and work in Washington, D.C. We are seeing the impact of National Guard in our streets. We know that this is going to be expanding into other cities very soon. We just had a call today within our movement on Chicago and heard from our local leader there, who is anticipating the arrival of 10,000 National Guard troopers. We don't want to give them what they want. They want the images. They want to see us fighting back. We're going to organize because that is what we do best. The labor movement is here. And at this moment right now, I couldn't be more proud again to be a part of it. Let's call these policies what they are, especially with how they're disproportionately affecting us. They are racist. And we are not afraid to say it. And I'm saying it here. And that is not something that we are going to stand for. We have worked too hard. And so as they are trying to break us down, as they are trying to make us more tired, as they are trying to make us feel powerless so that we act powerless, so that we feel as if we are hopeless, that is not where we are. We are going to be fighting back against us. We are proud to do it with you. Thank you again, President Johnson. Thank you, Jamal. Thank you, Robin. And looking forward to hearing my fellow speakers tonight.
Thank you, Julie. And for those of you who are on tonight, we are in the seat of privilege and the seat of power, despite what the other side may be mounting, if you will. And I have heard our president and CEO talk about the pendulum swinging left and right, but progress always moving forward. And so the next leader you're going to hear from is our friend, Donna Mitchell. Now, Donna represents LIUNA. And if you don't know LIUNA, it represents the working men and women of the US and Canada who are actually building both nations, laborers, folks who are actually doing the labor to make sure that our infrastructure in both countries is strong. Donna is also an amazing leader, and I know that she's an amazing mother and a friend to our movement. And so I'm going to turn the floor over now to Leader Mitchell to share her thoughts on the fierce urgency of now in regards to labor. Donna, I think you're still on mute. There you go.
Well, first, I'll start over. I will start with thanking all of you who gave up your Thursday evening, football evening, to listen into what we have to offer you. I want to thank you, Jamal, and I want to thank President Johnson and Chair Robin Williams for having me. And on behalf of my General President, Brett Booker, and my General Secretary Treasurer, Michael Sabatoni, and most important, on behalf of our over 500,000 LIUNA members, we're pleased that a building trades union is included in the conversation because the attacks are real across the board with all unions. So to set the stage, as Jamal said, members of the Laborers International Union of North America, we're an experienced union workforce trained to work safely in construction and energy industries. Our members build infrastructure from roads, bridges, and transit to schools and skyscrapers. While we are primarily a construction union, but many don't realize that LIUNA also represents 70,000 public employees. LIUNA public employees provide critical services from healthcare and sanitation to road maintenance and emergency response. The National Postal Mail Handlers Union, NPMHU, is also affiliated with LIUNA. We have approximately 47,000 mail handlers employed by the United States Postal Service. So many of our public employee and mail handler members are members of color, in addition to those members of color in the construction industry. So what are we doing? I tried, besides me just praying every day constantly, I tried to stay positive, and I urge our LIUNA brothers and sisters, we all try to stay positive. So I want to tell you what we're doing to fight back. We're fighting back on all fronts in this administration. We're focusing on our members and the communities they live and work in. Our administration, our general president and our secretary treasurer have been in office a little over 2 years, and they've charged us with a goal of marching to 1 million members to accomplish this task of growth, because we know that with growth and with more members, there's power. We have established an organizing tool we call Labor's Rising. And Labor's Rising focuses on getting to know our members better and educating and informing our members and the community that they live and work in on union issues. We ask each local to establish what we call a volunteer organizing committee, where our members work with their community alliances, such as their local NAACP branch, to build trusting relationships for coalition building. We now are proud to say that we have 34,000 members in our VOCs doing things in their communities. We are using communication tools such as social media, videos we call In the Know, which inform our members and about union history and educate them on why they are better in a union. We are using op-eds, press conferences, news channels to spread our message in the community. It's no secret that many of our members, white and Black men especially, voted for this current administration. We are turning to our members and becoming reacquainted with them, becoming more involved with them through these VOCs and doing things together in their communities, so that the next time we go to members and to the community in an election season, they will have a better knowledge of the importance of voting for their paychecks. We are not reaching out to them at the last minute, suggesting to them who they vote for. We're looking to grow our union by organizing in communities and even making special efforts in the reddest states in the South, such as Texas. LIUNA is definitely incurring threats from this administration. I just want to touch on 2 very recent major threats. TVA, the current administration, is actively doing its best to privatize the Tennessee Valley Authority. TVA is the largest public power company in the United States. It has provided affordable electricity and controlled devastating floods, among many other attributes for Tennessee residents since 1933. LIUNA is using its strategic communication strategies to combat this highly anticipated move to privatize TVA. In a widely circulated op-ed titled "TVA is the Opposite of Broken," which ran in the Chattanooga Times Free Press and in the Knoxville News Sentinel, our international vice president and regional manager for that area, Steve Farner, defends TVA's public power mission and urges continued investment in union labor and warns against short-sighted efforts to privatize the agency. He's also been a guest on local TV newscasts in Tennessee to discuss this issue and garner public support from the community. His perspective is especially timely amid TVA's broad leadership changes now and a delayed, of course, confirmation process in Washington, D.C. Second, further up on the East Coast, off the coast of Rhode Island, about 15 miles from Martha's Vineyard, is the Revolution Wind Project. That's an offshore wind farm under construction that abruptly stopped a couple of weeks ago, actually on August 23rd, right before Labor Day, by the current administration, a stop work order. Our LIUNA members who had good family-supporting jobs last month are out of work today because of the reckless action by the Trump administration. The Revolution Wind Project was nearly 80% finished with more than 2 million union work hours already invested in building the $1.3 billion project to deliver clean energy to 350,000 homes in Connecticut and Rhode Island. Overnight, those jobs are gone. This cancellation will not only cost jobs, it will drive up energy prices for working families and chill future investment in American infrastructure and energy. But LIUNA, we're using our communication tools here as well. We're calling on elected officials and union members and all who care about good jobs and abundant energy to stand with us and fight to restore the Revolution Wind Project. Jamal, you also asked that we touch on the role of women in our trades movement. And there I must say that in the building trades, we have a positive change. I'm elated that the building trades, they are embracing and encouraging women to find viable work options in construction. NAACP has instituted an annual conference called Trade Women Build Nations. We watched this conference grow exponentially. Last year in my hometown of New Orleans, we had over 6,000 women at the conference, and LIUNA had over 600 women registered. This year, I just got off a call about an hour ago. It's in Chicago, Illinois, and it's in about 2 weeks. It starts on the 18th through the 21st, and LIUNA has 950 women registered, and the conference itself has almost 5,500 women registered. We're also extremely elated that LIUNA instituted a maternity disability benefit this January for our female members in construction. A young lady in my home local in Baton Rouge qualified after she was turned away from her job at a nuclear power plant because she was pregnant. So the call to action is to ask NAACP branches, many of you on this call, to do what we are doing. Survey your members to see how many union members you have and what unions do they belong to. Of course, we ask that NAACP branches in Tennessee, Connecticut, and Rhode Island stand with us in our fight to keep TVA public and to restore work at Revolution Wind. I know that all unions want to build strong partnerships with the branches of such a strong and historic civil rights organization. Because after all, as on our Labor Day and at the luncheons, NAACP and the labor, we're two movements with one goal. LIUNA applauds NAACP for expanding Labor Day to this Labor Week of activities to keep your members and our members aware of the important role that labor plays in their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader Mitchell. I think we have heard another word, and we appreciate not only the call to action, but the notion of voting for your paycheck. Because as President Johnson said, our vote is our currency, but your paycheck is also your currency. And so for many of us, your paycheck is on the line. It's on the chopping block for the other side, whoever that may be. Now, we're not done. We got another powerful segment. We're going to hear from two amazing labor leaders. Our own Robin Williams, who is the chair of our National Labor Committee, a long-standing worker leader in the movement, in the fight, but understands what it means not only to be a mother, a wife, and a Black woman in this space, but in this leadership role. And she's going to be in conversation with what I call the Right Reverend Regina Thomas, who is the head of advocacy, women and human rights at AFT. And if you don't know Reverend Thomas, she has been a leader in the fight for many, many years, has served as Secretary of State in the great state of New Jersey, has been a leader with the DNC. She is what we call the ringer, if you will, in terms of getting this work done. And so we're going to hear from these two individuals in a dialogue around what they've heard, what they're seeing, and really what is the fight forward. And as a recent honoree at our national convention, Reverend Dr. Thomas definitely understands what it means in terms of the fierce urgency of now for the labor movement. We're turning over the floor to you, Chair Williams and Leader Thomas.
Thank you so much, Jamal. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for spending this hour of power with us tonight during Labor Action Week for the NAACP. I want to thank all the panelists. They're not just panelists, they're my sisters, they're my friends. We've been in the movement for a long time. I am honored to have this conversation with my sister leader, Regina, Regina Thomas is a leader. You know, people used to call me her sidekick, and I'm her sidekick. And Regina, so I just thank you for your leadership. You are the true intersection between community, labor, politics, faith, and civil rights. You are a walking legend of it all. You've been a part of the Democratic Party, organizing community and voters. You've been Secretary of State of New Jersey, you know, doing policy work and leading. And then you went over to the labor movement. You are a faith leader. You worked all over this country. And I know you spent some time in South Africa. So you're doing some work there. And so I'm just really honored to have this conversation with you. So look, I don't have to go over what Couture started with. We know, and we knew before January, before someone was sworn in, that the target was us. We knew Project 2025. We talked about it. We educated and informed folks about it. But we also knew the attack was for our jobs. For our jobs. That was very clear. So right now, 319,000 Black women are out of jobs because of the federal cuts. I want to start with that, sis. I want to start with, you know, what are you feeling around here, around that? The movement, you know, the attacks, the intentional attacks against us, knowing that we are the breadwinners in our community and a lot of incidents and a lot of areas. What about, what are your feelings around this attack? 319,000 Black women impacted by the federal job cuts.
First, I want to thank you, Robin, for inviting me to join, as well as the president, Derek Johnson, and each one of these sisters on this webinar. And I think Julie sort of highlighted it first. In addition to being in labor and the like, we are parents, we are sisters, we are aunties, we are all of those things. And if I could be completely honest, I'm mad as hell, but I'm also fearful. But I am reminded that this strategy of coming at particularly the African American community through its women, it was the raping back in the day, so that Black men would be intimidated and fearful. And so I don't know, I'm challenged to know if we are prepared to do what our ancestors did, was hold the fight, stay close to our faith, as Donna says. You got to wake up every morning and you got to pray that that God is moving in a way and waiting for us to respond as He would see fit. And so I don't want to assume, because we knew Project 2025, we had it, big old thick book. But I don't know if we were ready for all of it at one time, the attack on everything that is dear and close to people of color, poor people, marginalized communities, and the like was so great. And so, again, as mad as I am and as fearful as I am, the labor movement gives me strength. This week on Labor Day, I think we came out in greater masses than we have in previous years. And so I think we're going to take the mantle. As we were leaders in the civil rights movement, I think labor is taking its rightful place, and women their rightful place alongside of our brothers and sisters in labor. And so, again, I'm mad, I'm scared, but energized and fired up and ready to go.
Right.
So Regina, before January, the attack started on our education system, public education, trying to wipe away our history, taking certain books out of the schools in Florida and Texas. That started before January, right? And so as you see, and you working for the American Federation of Teachers who have led this fight, what should we be doing? What should we be thinking? Our children, the public school system is at risk. With the federal cuts, that will mean there'll be more cuts in our public school system. So we got our history trying to be stripped from us. We have the funding that we need, especially for the most vulnerable communities, underserved Black communities. So what are you all doing at AFT? What do you continue to do to make sure that we reserve our history and reserve our public school system?
I want to shout out to our president, Randy Weingarten, who is a great leader. She is visionary. And so we are fighting on multiple fronts. First of all, even before the end of the election, we began to provide books throughout the country to our community leaders. Okay, you don't want to have books, then we're going to give books out that look like us, whether we're African American, Hispanic, Native American, or Asian Americans. We're going to continue to put books in people's hands. And then we go to the courts. We fight in the courts. We're constantly winning lawsuits. You don't hear about the wins, but we're constantly winning lawsuits. We're attacking this administration at every angle. And in addition to that, we are leaning in partnership with our allies. We're going community by community by community, schools by schools by schools. And so we are energizing our membership base to be prepared to move, whether it's higher ed and making sure that our Latino brothers and sisters have and are armed with the necessary information if they come up on attack. And particularly, we're defending our higher ed folk in case you are stuck in a country and can't get back here, to teach a class or work on your doctorate degree. We're providing all of those different vehicles to move forward. And one thing about Randy, she's open for any other suggestions that we might have. We're hitting the streets come October the 18th, again in another No Kings. AFT was everywhere around the country. And so we're hitting the streets, we're hitting the courts, we're being in community with our neighbors, and we're providing the necessary resources for our membership to fight back, to be in community with its students, to be in community with its neighborhoods, and we'll continue to do that.
Regina, you're a visionary. I know you are. And your union, Randy, is everywhere, like you said.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. I was on a town hall with your leader, Sister Gaines from Chicago. She and I did a town hall last night together. And so Randy has been in this this fight, supporting Palestinians and Gaza. She was in Chicago Labor Day, walking, saying that we do not want federal troops in Chicago. I want your vision of where they're trying to destroy our history, even through national museums. As much money as we personally, and we fought to have our new a Black museum here in DC, the school system where our kids are educated. What do you feel the future of public education, and what is our responsibility when the federal government don't want to reserve and educate about our history? And we move more to community as they create this chaos across the country while they're trying to distract us and stress us all out. What do we do? What's our responsibility as Black folks, as Black community, to reserve our public school system and to reserve our own history?
I think we have to have boots on the ground. We can't continue to talk about what someone else ought to do. We must be a leader within our own communities. I think at your conference, I recall stating that I was terrified. I was in a bad situation. I went to my car. I sit in the car crying out to God about what do I need to do. I missed all of the leaders that taught me, all whether it was Senator Georgia Davis Powers, Dorothy Height, or Marion Barry. And God said to me, clear, just like he was sitting in the car with me, you are what you need. You definitely are what you need. And I think that's what we must do. Each one of us have to do. Teaching our children to read and write is not a new thing. Sunday schools and churches were
Right.
started not all about God, yes, but they knew that if they taught you to read and write the Bible, which was one thing masters let you do, was go to church. So you begin to read and write. We must begin to control our own destiny, do what we need to do. If it's good enough for them to want to take it, it's good enough for us to fight to keep it. And so I think what we must do collectively, whether it's NAACP, Urban League, NAAN, whatever the organizations are, we must come together and create a strategy that we move forward and fight to protect what we need. We don't need 30-second sound bites. We don't need so-and-so to do this. Derek can't do it all. Everyone has a lane. This fight must be fought, and we must grab whatever lane we are in, and we must have boots on the ground. If it's good enough, again, for them to take from us, it's good enough for us to protect it and keep it from us. So I think we have to have boots on the ground. I think we must start now, prepare for a future date, and say, we're going to go and we're going to take over the monument. I remember when Million Man March was talking, and everybody talked about Farrakhan can't get a million men, and then showed up. There were millions of men in Washington, D.C., all because he called them, all because he had them to move. And so I think that's what we must do. And we must move collectively, labor. We must move collectively with Hispanic brothers and sisters, collectively, with our Haitian brothers and sisters. We must move and stand our ground to hold on to what we need. And we must allow space, not only for those of us who are seniors, but for the young people. They're not going to do it the way we do it, but they must lead this march and be part of it and do whatever we need to do. If we got to go to Howard University and then march to downtown just to protect education, protect the rights of African Americans to attend schools that teachers look like us, and there is a concept and an integrity about who we are, then we must do that. So I think we're moving in that direction. The more there's more no kings, we must do it. Black women must be reminded of our role to take over and do what we need to do to move this. I am a favorite person. Harriet Tubman and Fannie Lou Hamer are two of my favorite people. When I was Secretary of State, I walked from Delaware all the way to New York, 2 weeks, planning to do it again, planning to stand in Atlantic City where Fannie Lou Hamer did her speech on the first day that New Jersey has its ballots. So we're going to stand there and we're going to say, hold on. If Fannie Lou Hamer can say, I'm sick and tired, I'm sick and tired, I'm sick and tired of them assuming that we can't vote. You don't have to put a stamp on it. When it comes to you, fill it out and send it back. Black women are going to join me in that in September. So those are the things we have to do. We're not going to wait for somebody else to do it. We don't have to wait till election day. It's coming to your house. It's already there. Tomorrow is the first day that you send it out. We need you to send it out. Black women all over the state of New Jersey.
All right, Regina. Thank you so much, sis. I mean, I got my call to action. You know, I really want to thank you all. This is my 9th year serving on National Board of Directors, although I've been around the NAACP since I've been 16. And we made a vow to each other. And Donna, you included, and Judith, you came along. But we said that we were going to raise our profile in the civil rights movement and through the NAACP. And because of all of you and my partners with the AFL-CIO, UFCW, the NEA, AFT, the Machinists Union, the Laborers Union, all the unions. And then we had the great opportunity of having President Johnson to be president at that time, and then the chairman, Leon Russell. And then we have a great team, staff that are mostly from labor, like Jamal Watkins and Dominic Whitehead. And so we have really been intentional about making our voices heard and having a seat at the civil rights table. As I say, and as Katura and I spoke earlier, and she so eloquently spoke and opened us up. As Dr. King said, after we won the Civil Rights Act and we won our Voting Rights Act, he saw where we were being attacked. And so he said, where do we go from here? Chaos or community? And I am so happy where the fear will set in. But what is inspiring to me is AFL, where labor, we have been silent doing our work and creating justice for not just unionized workers, but all workers in this country, raising the bar. The AFL has been kicking ass with those bus tours. And all the unions have been out front, letting people know labor is here. We're not going anywhere. We have been in this fight for many years, and we're not going anywhere. Black women, we're used to being attacked. I believe Black women will always find a new way. God will find a new way for us because they forgot we are seeds. And so I want to thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you for your mentorship, Regina, all of you, that you have mentored younger people so that when we're tired and retired, we have people to carry the torch until we have this, bring our new generation up. Thank you again for being a part of the NAACP. We must do this in community. We can't do anything in silos anymore. So again, thank you, sisters, for joining me tonight. Jamal?
Thank you so much, Leader Williams. Thank you, Leader Thomas. I have so many gems that I've heard from that conversation. I heard mad, scared, but I'm ready to go. Still energized, even though I'm fearful. You are what you need. Everyone has a lane and we need boots on the ground. Thank you so much. As we move towards concluding tonight's event, we just have a few more speakers. President of CWA and Vice Chair of the NAACP National Labor Committee, Claude Cummings Jr. has a special message for you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to join this panel. I am sorry that I'm not able to be there with you in person, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to speak with you at this critical time for working people in this country and for Black workers in particular. The labor movement and the civil rights movement share a set of values and a vision for the future. We want everyone in our communities to have the freedom to be themselves, pursue their dreams, and have a good life. We believe in prosperity, justice, and security for all, not just the very rich. We are here today because these values are under threat. The rights and freedoms that our ancestors fought and died for are being shredded right before our eyes by a reckless, unconstrained president and his white supremacist allies and advisors. This toxic combination of billionaires, bigots, and bullies has wasted no time attempting to dismantle the civil and labor rights protections that are the foundation of the middle class and our multiracial democracy. The list of things that Donald Trump has done, most of them by executive order, and most of them illegally, is overwhelming. It is designed to be overwhelming. I know that each of you have stories about how this administration's actions have impacted you, your families, your workplace, and your community. They want to divide and demoralize us. We cannot let that happen. Let me repeat that. We cannot let that happen. Just last week, he ripped away collective bargaining rights for federal workers at NASA, the Weather Service, and the Patent Office, and other agencies. He has now illegally terminated the contracts for nearly 500,000 workers. This is by far the largest act of union busting in American history. The timing was no accident. It was his Labor Day message to the billionaires and the bosses. He was letting them know that he is on their side, not ours. He is on the side of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and all the other CEOs who have filed suit to have the National Labor Relations Board declared unconstitutional. I know you are all aware that he has sent armed National Guard troops to Los Angeles and DC and threatened to send them to Chicago, Baltimore, and other cities with black mayors. There is no emergency in those cities and no grounds for deploying troops. Trump is laying the groundwork for using the troops to intimidate voters, especially black voters, and keep us away from the polls. He is already claiming powers over how elections are conducted that he does not have, trying to end vote by mail and impose national voter ID requirements. He is establishing a quick reaction force of National Guard troops to, quote, quell civil disturbances. Just think about that. National Guard troops are being trained to use force against the people of the United States. How long before one of his big donors calls him up and asks him to send in troops to break a strike? The unfettered power that Donald Trump and his corporate backers are seeking is extremely, extremely dangerous. We cannot sit idly by and watch as mass ICE agents rip our brothers and sisters away from their families, their jobs, and their communities. We cannot turn a blind eye to our military being deployed against the very people they are sworn to protect, as voter rights, worker rights, and human rights are stripped from the most vulnerable. University presidents, partners in big law firms, media moguls, CEOs, and even some elected officials and heads of state have been responding to Donald Trump's threat by trying to appease him or remaining silent. But it doesn't work that way. Donald Trump is a bully. And if you give a bully your lunch money on Monday, you better believe he'll be back for more on Tuesday. Here's another thing about bullies. They pick on isolated individuals. It is more important than ever that our two great American movements, the labor and civil rights movements, join together to lead the fight against the takeover of our federal government. We will have to simultaneously defend what we have accomplished and build for the future. We need to do everything we can to ensure that there are free and fair elections later this year in Virginia and New Jersey and in the 2026 midterm elections. At the same time, we have to recognize that winning an election, while important, is not going to save us. Restoring corporate DEI policies is not going to save us. No one is coming to save us. We are all we have, but we're also all we need. Every time workers organize to join a union, we are saving ourselves, our families, and our communities. Every time a shop steward enforces a contract, we are fighting back against injustice. Every time we walk a picket line, we are taking control of our lives. Union membership and collective bargaining agreements are the best tools we have to advance economic equality and racial justice. And we have a whole lot of experience standing up to bullies. When they come for us, for our coworkers, and for our families. Do we back down? No, we don't back down. We fight back. I'm proud to be in this fight with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard a great word this evening. We want to thank Keturah, Julie, Donna, Robin, Regina for lifting up what is our North Star. We have heard from our own fearless leader, President and CEO Derek Johnson, from the great state of Mississippi. But we do have a call to action. We don't want you to leave here just feeling fired up, and we're asking that you actually click on the QR code or go to our website because we have an action that's live now. One of the ways to protect workers, Black workers, brown workers, white folks, folks who are being targeted, folks who are not billionaires, is to enact a moratorium on federal job cuts, to launch a full employment study for Black workers and impacted groups, and to ensure that we're pausing and reassessing the dismantling of programs under the guise of we're shifting from DEI to make sure that we're not hurting the folks who actually work to make America great. If you have not partnered with an international union, your local unions, your AFL-CIO, your state feds, your CLCs, you can partner with the NAACP and with us. We have labor leaders who sit on our national board of directors like Lee Saunders, president of AFSCME, Randy Weingarten, president of AFT, Becky Pringle or Rebecca Pringle, president of NEA. You just heard from leader Claude Cummings, who is the president of the Communication Workers of America. We are standing together. And as you heard from our speakers, it is about time for us to unite collectively because the fight is not only for the soul of this country, but for our paychecks and our bank accounts. And we want to make sure that both are fully restored. We thank you all for joining us this evening. We thank you for our speakers, our leaders, our folks who are on the front lines. And we thank you for being you because we know you could have been anywhere else this evening, but you chose to join this space to continue to be fired up, as Reverend Thomas said, and ready to go. Good night and God bless.